Hey, what uppers? It's Saturday morning. I'm at work. Just me and the damn security guard. Anyway, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Want to do this video. Got my PlayStation 4 last night. I'm currently in the 8th generation completely with the Wii U, the Xbox One, and the PS4. Don't have a Vita. Yes, the Vita is part of the 8th generation. Don't have a Vita. Might get one. I don't know. I'm not keen on handhelds. Well, anyway, I want to do this video. A couple things. One, I'm going to change my YouTube. Add more content to my YouTube now that it's the summertime and I have more time off. And also, on Tuesday, expect some Ultra Edition videos, Ultra Street Fighter 4 videos, especially, you could say Season 3 of Hakan's Army. I know y'all guys missed that, but a lot of Hakan players has just been waiting for Ultra to drop. Once Ultra drop, you're gonna see some more Hakan Army videos. You're also gonna see some Elena videos too. My baby is in Street Fighter 4, but I'm gonna briefly talk about something. E3 is in a week and a half from now, okay? And this generation, the 8th generation, is the worst generation as far as video games go. This is the worst generation I've seen by far. So with that being said, I would say that we're on the cusp of another great video game crash. Video game crash number 3. Now, some of you guys haven't been born or witnessed the first video game crash. And some of you guys are like 3rd generation, 4th generation. I'm 1st generation. Well, I was born in the 1st generation, 1976. But but I witnessed the end of the 1st generation. I'm technically 2nd generation, but I played 1st generation games. All right, consoles. 1st generation, Magnavox, Atari Pong. That's 1st generation. 2nd generation is Atari 2600. That's my generation that I was prevalent in. So, like I said, I was on the cusp, borderline 1st generation, 2nd generation. But the 1st generation, cusp, 1st generation, 2nd generation, you saw the crash. The first video game crash was in, I want to say 78. Yeah, the first video game crash was 78. 78 was when, video games was prevalent in the arcade, but when it came to the home version, they would only play Pong, and then after that, there was no games made. It was non-existent. Then Atari saved. Okay. Atari saved the video game industry, came out with 2600. The second video game crash happened was like 81, 82. That's when Atari was pretty much, Steve Wozniak and all those guys were, fighting, Apple and Atari was merging. Steve Jobs and, I forgot his name, was fighting and whatnot. And then next thing you know, video games was just dying, It was just dying. And it wasn't for Nintendo. Then, we don't know what video games was. Nintendo came and saved the video game industry, and that was the beginning of Japan dominance as far as video game goes. America had it, and then it went to, actually, quite frankly, technically, America only had it for a brief moment. This is a great history lesson. Okay, when it comes to systems that win, okay, when it comes to system to win, you go by how many consoles or how many systems has been sold, okay? So, I'm about to give you a brief list by generation, okay? The 1st generation, even I found this recently. The 1st generation, the company that won, ironically, and when I say won, I'm going to say championships. The company that sold the most consoles, they win the championship of that generation. They're the most sold console, or the company that sold the most consoles. Okay. In the 1st generation, I thought it was Magnavox. Then I thought it was Atari. But after I Googled and looked it up, actually Nintendo won the 1st championship, which surprised me. And what surprised me about that is, in the 1st generation, Magnavox, and it's all due to Magnavox. If Magnavox never gave the rights over to Japan for Nintendo to make or to figure out how to make a Pong device, Magnavox would have won the first generation. But no, they went over into 77, 78. They went over into Japan. They signed the rights for Magnavox for Nintendo to look at Magnavox. Nintendo came out with the color TV. The color TV sold about 300 million or 3 million or 300 3 million. 3 million units. Magnavox only sold 250,000 worldwide, and Nintendo only sold 3 million units in their region. That's impressive. So Nintendo won the first generation. The second generation, Atari won. Period. Atari 2600, boom, blowing everybody out the water. That's the United States, a company from the United States, a video game company, first championship. First and only, I think, if I remember. I got it all written down. It's kind of hard to say this on video from the top of my head. Third generation, Nintendo. Fourth generation, Nintendo. Okay, they ran the gauntlet. Bam. Fifth generation, Sony. PlayStation came out. They was killing everybody. PlayStation came out, they killed everybody. Sixth generation, Sony. PlayStation 2 killed everybody. And PlayStation 2 was actually the first console where everybody started pre-ordering. Before PlayStation 2, nobody was pre-ordering consoles. That was unheard of. I remember that day. I hated that day. Scouring the earth for a PlayStation 2. I ain't never seen people stand in line like it was tickets to a Prince or a Michael Jackson concert. People were like, what are y'all standing in line for a PlayStation 2? It was crazy. So fourth and fifth generation, back-to-back, Sony. Sixth generation, I might have my numbers skewed. Okay, this generation is going as the eighth generation. Seventh generation was Nintendo with the Wii. Sixth generation and fifth generation was Sony. Okay, third and fourth were Nintendo. Fifth and sixth was Sony. Seventh was back to Nintendo, and now we're currently in the eighth generation. All right, so let's go back over it again. First generation, Nintendo. Second generation, Atari. Third generation, Nintendo. Fourth generation, Nintendo. Fifth generation, Sony. Sixth generation, Sony. Seventh generation, Nintendo. Now we're currently in the eighth generation. This is the generation that Microsoft should indeed try to win the generation. They should, try to win the generation by selling as many consoles as they can, which they find difficult to do because they're only liable or they're only prevalent in one region, which is the North American region. That's why they're pushing hard to get over in China. Because right now, in September 28th, the Xbox One comes out in China and it comes out in Japan. All right. It's a wrap in Japan. They might as well give it up. I mean, they can come out in Japan, but they're not going to be Sony in their region. So that's why they're focused on China. And what my thing is, Microsoft better be careful of. They better not do what Magnavox did in 77. Go over in China, sign over the rights to some Chinese company so they can see what the Microsoft, the Xbox One is. Then next thing you know, in the ninth generation, we're going to have a full console built and bred manufactured from China. You're going to see a Chinese company building a Chinese-made console and sell it across, the globe. Better be careful, Microsoft. It can happen. You think Magnavox didn't think that was going to happen back in 77? Nintendo took the ball and ran with it. You mean to tell me a Chinese company won't do that? Because a lot of people don't realize the Chinese for the past 14, 15 years, they had a console ban. And there was no consoles being sold over in China. But now that ban's been lifted, and that's why Microsoft is pushing to get the Xbox One over into China so then they can build up and boost up their sales, and then they can try to make an attack to over in Japan and probably take over Japan from Sony. See, what you guys fail to realize, business is war. Right now, Microsoft, as far as the console war is going, they're losing. I want them to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not an AK System Loyalist or a fanboy. I'm a fanboy when it comes to games. Like I said, I got all the consoles. on in the 8th generation. And my main gripe with everybody, all developers, is there's no games. There is no games. And then a lot of people say, well, there's games. I'm like, let me explain something to you. This is the reason why this is the worst. This is the worst generation out of all the generations. When the Xbox One came out and the PlayStation 4 came out, there were literally no games. No games. And all the games that they came out pretty much practically was on the PS3 and the 360. The reason why this generation sucks is because developers are developing games for the 7th generation consoles and the 8th generation consoles. They didn't do that in the 6th and 5th and 4th generation. When a new generation console came out, they developed games for the new consoles. They didn't develop for the previous generation and the current generation. There's no way in hell Watch Dogs should be on the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Wii, the Wii U, the PC. Come on, man. Titanfall was supposed to be an Xbox One exclusive title, but now it's on the Xbox One, the 360, and the PC. If I got a 360 and I got a PS3, how the fuck would I get a PS4 or Xbox One when the games that's supposed to be better is going to be on the system of an old generation? That's why I'm saying this is a video game crash, and the developers don't care about the new systems. They're developing for the new systems and the old system. Come on, man. These developers don't. I mean, developers and these developing companies, the production companies, and even Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, they don't care. They first party developers is ass. The only one who's doing well is Nintendo. I mean, as far as like first party development, you know what I'm saying? You got Mario Kart 8 out. And, you know, they actually the only company that's developing games. They ain't worried about apps. They ain't worried about TV. They ain't worried about cable. They making games. It's a damn shame. They're the last video game company. The last pure video game company. And I'm telling you this right now. For all those who say Nintendo need to die, let me explain something to you. I don't like Nintendo, but at the end of the day, respect is given and respect is due. And if Nintendo folds, video games as we know it is done. Video games already is done as we know it. You know what I'm saying? But if they really go, it's over with. It's a wrap. Because let me explain something to you. Nintendo leaving or folding in the video game industry is about as equivalent as General Motors or Ford folding in the automotive industry. They're the lifeblood of the community, of the industry. They fold, video games is done. You understand me? Period. You may not like that statement, but that's the truth. Nintendo folds, video games as we know it is done. It'll be like if the United States, folded, this world is pretty much done. So, I mean, well, we're almost there. But anyway, I'm just stating the obvious. A lot of people are like, well, Nintendo need to crash, Nintendo need to fold. They're not making video games. Yes, they are making video games, actually. And for those people that are like, man, Nintendo need to stop making hardware systems. They need to be like Sega. They need to stop making hardware and stick to software. Okay. All right. The people who say that, those are the ones who basically just want to play Mario, but they don't want to get a Nintendo system. Because those are if Nintendo, let's say Nintendo folds tomorrow, stop making Wii U's, but make Super Mario 10 on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, those motherfuckers be the first ones in line. I hate people like that. But anyway, that's what it is. I didn't expect this to go that long, but it is what it is. Oh, and then let me explain something to you. A lot of people, this is turned from just a update to a rant. Let me explain something to the people out there. Video games, ownership of video games is dead. It's no longer existent, or it's pretty much finalized. Let me explain something to you. Video games is no longer, video games is no longer a hobby as far as like you collecting things. Video games is a service. You're paying for a service now. With all this digital download crap, it's no longer a collection or a hobby or a collection. It's a service. Killer Instinct proved that. There's no hardcore copies or digital disc copies of Killer Instinct. It's all digital. You're paying for a service. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's free. That's why you can get it for free, and that's why you can update or add it to it. Think about your cable bill. You know, if you want to, if you want a better package, it's like $10 or $20 or more to get more channels and this and that. The same thing with Killer Instinct. You get the game for free. You get one character. Oh, you want another character? Get get the better package, the ultimate package. You want all the characters? Get the premium package. How's that different from your cable prescriber? Exactly. And what's your cable provider? A service. Anyway. But Killer Instinct was just the beginning. There's a lot of games out here that's providing a service now. They're no longer, you can't keep them. Then a lot of people who say, well, I mean, as long as I got my hard drive, what's the point of having, a hard copy? Listen, idiot. You can get all your famous or favorite books on ebooks or Kindle or Nook or whatever, but there's nothing like having the hard-covered paperback, a physical copy of the book. You can get MP3s off of iTunes and this, but there's nothing like having the CD, or better yet, nothing like having vinyl. You understand? Same thing with my games. You know what I'm saying? It's a physical. I can walk in my room and see a shelf full of video games of classics. I can't do that when my video games is on a cloud, an inanimate object where I can't touch, but I can only hope and pray that it's there. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. Like I said, video games is done as a service. And then there's a rumor that EA is trying to work with Comcast to create a service for video games through Xfinity. Then you got companies, that used to make video games that are now focusing on mobile games and apps. GameStop is moving over from selling used games to sell, mobile devices and mobile apps and games. And you're looking at me like video games ain't about to face another crash. Yeah, okay, people. Wake up. Video games as you and I know it is done. Just enjoy the ride. That's what I'm doing. Because the 9th generation come, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. That's why PlayStation is trying to work on that Project Morpheus, which we may see at E3. Once the Project Morpheus, I'm telling you right now, Oculus Rift and Project Morpheus, if they don't show me anything good or anything mind-blowing, video games as we know it is done. The 9th generation is going to be ass. I'm still waiting on. The only time I'll probably come back and play video games is like if we see a precursor to like the Star Trek holodeck. Yeah. But other than that, games as we know it it's a wrap. It's over with. It's done. You can sit up here and get mad at me all you want to, but the facts is facts and the truth is truth. It's been a one hell of a ride. I've seen the rise, the crash, the re-rise, the crash, the re-rise, the golden age of video gaming to now to the silent demise of video games as we know it. One hell of a ride. Late.